We learn from the Quran that when you see a nice garden, when you see some good property, when you see some beautiful house, somebody's beautiful garden, instead of saying, wow, and just staring at it from one part to the other, scanning it, what should you say? MashaAllah, la quwwata illa billah. In Surah Al-Kahf, ayah 39, we learn, وَلَوْلَا إِذْ دَخَلْتَ جَنَّتَكَ قُلْتَ مَا شَاءَ اللَّهِ لَا قُوَّةَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ. Similarly, the Prophet ﷺ, he would read upon his grandchildren certain adhkar, which I will mention to you. Hassan and Hussein, when they would come to him, the Prophet ﷺ would read certain adhkar upon them. Why? Because generally people have a habit of staring at children. Just imagine they're the grandchildren of the Prophet ﷺ. Imagine how much people would, look at them. So he would recite those adhkar to ward off the evil eye. Similarly, we should read the Mu'awwadhatan, Surah Al-Falaq, as well as Surah Al-Nas. And we should also do ruqya if someone has been affected by the evil eye. Aisha radhiyallahu anha, she said that Jibreel used to pronounce some words upon the Prophet ﷺ to relieve his pain. And he would say, Bismillahi yubrika, wa min kulli da'in yashfika, wa min sharri hasidin idha hasada, wa sharri kulli di'ain. I'm sure you can find all of these adhkar in Fortress of Muslim. That may you get relief from the pain, cured from the disease, and be protected from envy and evil eye by the virtue of Allah's name. Ibn Abbas radhiyallahu anhu, he said that the Prophet ﷺ used to seek refuge with Allah for Al-Hassan and Al-Hussein. Who were they? His grandsons. And he would say, your father Ibrahim used to seek refuge with Allah for Ismail and Ishaq by reciting the following. What? أعوذ بكلمات الله التامة من كل شيطان وهامة ومن كل عين لامة. That, O Allah, I seek refuge with your perfect words from every devil and from poisonous pests and from every evil, harmful, envious eye. And this is something that every mother should know. Every single mother, every single aunt, every single grandmother should know. And every single girl, for that matter, should know. Why? Because girls have more of a tendency to spend time with the children. They love holding children. They love playing with the children. And sometimes it happens that children are with some other people and they come back extremely upset. They're crying. They're very cranky for a reason that cannot be understood. So make sure that whenever you are with a child comes to you, you recite this on them. If you're babysitting someone's child, if you're carrying someone's child, make sure you recite this as a protection. Another cure is that, which was at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, an incident that we learned, that if someone has been afflicted by the evil eye, and you know who has affected them, who you suspect has affected them, then what do you have to do? That person whose evil eye has affected the other has to take a ghusl, and that water should be poured onto the one who has been afflicted. For example, we learn from Musnad Ahmad, Abu Umama, he reported that Sahal ibn Hunayf, on the authority of his father, told him that as they went out one day with the Prophet ﷺ, upon reaching the valley called Al-Harar, Sahal, he washed himself and appeared as having a very fine figure. He was washing himself, and when he came out, his body, it looked very beautiful. He had a very fine figure. And this attracted Amir ibn Rabi'a to the extent that he actually said, wow, what a nice and delicate figure. He didn't say, MashaAllah. He didn't say, Subhanallah. He didn't say, Barakallahu feek. Just as you go to a wedding, people are dressed up, someone's looking very nice, you say, wow, this color suits you. Wow, this jewelry looks so good. Similarly, if somebody's driving their new car, you're like, wow, what a nice car. So he said that, wow, what a nice and delicate figure. You look like a charming lady. So he gave a comment as well, that you look like a woman. Like, it's such a beautiful figure that you have. Now, upon uttering this remark, Sahal, he fell unconscious. He fell unconscious. And when the people took him to the Prophet ﷺ, he asked them, do you suspect someone? That someone's evil eye could have affected him? They said, yes. And they replied, we suspect Amir ibn Rabi'a. And the Prophet ﷺ called him and reprimanded him. He scolded him. And he said, why try to kill your brother in faith? You could have killed your brother. Why not say upon seeing something fascinating, Allah is blessed, or may Allah bless you? Say some good words. Barakallahu feek. Subhanallah. To wash off the traces of the envy, Amir was told to take a ghusl, and all of that water was collected into a bowl, and the contents of that bowl were poured onto Sahal. And once that was poured, then Sahal recovered. So what do we learn? What's the lesson in this for us? That the Prophet ﷺ reprimanded the companion who did not say good words upon seeing someone beautiful, upon seeing someone handsome. So anytime we see someone looking good, whether it is a nice hijab, or it is a nice bag, or it is a nice pair of shoes, or it is a nice car that they're driving, or they look very good with their husband, any time that you see someone looking good, say some good words from your mouth. Don't just say wow, and don't just think in your head. Just say some good words, because it wards off the evil eye. Because it's with the help of Allah, it's with the shifa that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give. And if there's a child who is not a Muslim, even he could be affected. So when you see a child, definitely pray for his hidayah, that may Allah guide him and protect him. And also say something like this, because sometimes when people look at other children and they keep commenting on their beauty, they constantly comment on their beauty. So we should be very careful. If a person seeks help of other than Allah, like for example an amulet, a necklace, a thread, etc., then Allah will leave him to that. Meaning Allah will not grant him protection. Allah will not grant him shifa. Allah will leave his affair with what? With that amulet, which can do nothing by itself. So the lesson in this for us is, what do we have to do? When we see something good, we have to say some good words. And before that, we must avoid staring at things. We must avoid staring at things. If there is a child, just look, say MashaAllah, Barakallahu feek, maybe hug the child, and then go on. Do something else. Don't just sit there for 10 minutes with your eyes fixed on the child. Do something different. How would you feel if somebody was watching you for 10 minutes non-stop? Put yourself in that position. Similarly, if you go to a wedding, a woman is looking very beautiful, the bride is looking very beautiful, don't stare at her. Don't. And secondly, another thing that we must do is that we must protect ourselves from before. How? With the morning and evening du'as. There's a very interesting story that I'm sure you all have heard as well recently, that once there was this person from the Salaf, from the pious predecessors, who was in the masjid, and somebody came and said, your house is on fire. And he said, it's not possible my house is on fire. So he said, no, it is. He took him. And when they went, they saw that it was a neighbor's house that was on fire. So he was asked that, how come you were so confident? He said, I said my adhkar in the morning. Nothing could have harmed me. I said, Bismillahi alladhi la yadurru ma'asmihi shay'un fil ardi wa la fis sama' wa huwa as-sami'ul alim. It's not possible that something could have harmed me. So we have to protect ourselves from before. We have to take our precaution from before. And if there is a need to cure, then we must only use what? That which is free of shirk. Okay. Can you give yourself the evil eye? Yes. Like for example, if you constantly stare at yourself in the mirror, which unfortunately many people do. You know, I'm amazed sometimes why it takes so long for you girls to do wudu. And sometimes when I go in the washroom, people are just fixing their hijabs. One angle, the other angle, this pin, that pin. I mean, how long does it take to wear the hijab? The salah is going, the class is going. You're missing out on every second, every moment. And people are standing in front of the mirror, fixing their hijabs. Although we have put only one mirror on one side, still all the girls will collect over there. And admiring themselves, putting the lip gloss, putting their eyeliners, putting this, putting that. I mean, do you really have all that time? Seriously? And if you stare at yourself too much, you could give yourself the evil eye as well. You could give it to your own children, you could give it to your own spouse, you could give it to your own stuff. If you keep looking at your nails, keep looking at your fingers, and your rings, and your nail polish, you could honestly give yourself evil eye as well. You wonder sometimes, I wore that jewelry, I wore that necklace for the first time, and it's gone. Somehow or the other, with Allah's will and power, the gaze, the vision can have a physical effect on the other. How exactly it happens, Allahu A'lam. But this is what we learn from the Quran and Sunnah, that this is something that happens. Al-Ainu Haqq. And it's not only the Muslims who believe in this, it's across many cultures, many religions. This is a widespread belief amongst people. But the solution that we have been given is, prevent yourself from before, take precaution, and in case you do suffer from this, then cure the right way. So, Yaqub a.s., he tells his sons, don't enter from the same gate, because if you do, then you might be affected by the evil eye. Remember earlier in the beginning of the surah, Yaqub a.s. also told his son Yusuf not to tell his brothers about his dream. Why? Because it could lead to hasad, it could lead to envy. So this shows to us that if Allah has given us a particular blessing, then we must not go out boasting it, showing it off all the time. Because if we do, then it will make other people envious of us, and it might also get us the evil eye. Because it's possible that the other person is not intending evil for you, but just they're looking at you, they're thinking about you, they're admiring you, and they don't say good words, and as a result of that, you get affected by the evil eye. So we have to be extremely careful. And he says over here that وَمَا أُغْنِي عَنْكُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ مِنْ شَيْءٍ. I am not making you free, self-sufficient from Allah. Meaning, I cannot protect you from Allah's plan. I'm taking this precaution, I'm telling you what you should do, but at the end of the day, I cannot protect you from the will of Allah. If Allah wants that something bad should happen, that you should incur some harm, some loss, then that will definitely happen. My precaution cannot prevent you, cannot save you. إِنَ الْحُكْمُ إِلَّا لِلَّهِ. Because ultimately the decision is with who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, عَلَيْهِ تَوَكَّلْتُ وَعَلَيْهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ الْمُتَوَكِّلُونَ. Upon Him should all of us trust. Because at the end of the day, the matter is only in His hand. وَلَمَّا دَخَلُوا. And when they entered, مِنْ حَيْثُ أَمَرَهُمْ أَبُوهُمْ. From where their father had commanded them. And what was that? Different gates. مَا كَانَ يُغْنِي عَنْهُمْ مِنَ اللَّهِ مِنْ شَيْءٍ. Nothing could avail them from Allah. Nothing at all. Nothing could avail them from what? From the decree of Allah. From the will of Allah. Nothing could save them. And what was the decree of Allah? What was the decree of Allah? That Binyamin was not going to go back. He told them to enter from different gates so that they're not affected by the evil eye, so that they're able to come back home, all of them safe and sound. But the will of Allah was that Binyamin was going to stay. He was going to stay. Yaqub a.s. made his plan. The sons, they followed the plan. But at the end of the day, whatever Allah willed, that is exactly what happened. And this is something that we should remember. That sometimes we say our adhkar, and we make a plan as well. We follow that plan, but still we incur some kind of harm. Does that mean we should start doubting the adhkar? Does that mean we should stop taking precaution, thinking that whatever is meant to happen will happen anyway? Why bother yourself? Why burden yourself with all this planning and with all of these adhkar that take me 15-20 minutes to read every morning, every evening? No. Because whatever is meant to happen will definitely happen. Our responsibility is to do what is in our hand. إِلَّا حَاجَةً. Except for a need. فِي نَفْسِ يَعْقُوب. In the nafs of Yaqub alayhi salam. That qadaha, he satisfied it. What does it mean by haja? Haja is a need. It's a necessity that must be fulfilled. And over here, haja, meaning the need, refers to the desire that Yaqub alayhi salam had to fend off the evil eye. And this desire that he had to fend off the evil eye, he qadaha, he fulfilled it. He fulfilled his responsibility of warning the children, of telling the children, of making a plan, of following that plan. But beyond that, he couldn't do any more. He couldn't do anything else. He did whatever was in his capacity. It was a haja in his heart to protect his children, and he fulfilled that how? By warning them, by telling them what to do. And beyond that, it was not in his ability. And this is something that we should remember as well. That we do our part, but we remember that it's only up to a certain limit. After that, it's ultimately in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَإِنَّهُ, and indeed he, meaning Yaqub alayhi salam, he was لَذُو عِلْمٍ. He was surely possessor of knowledge. He was surely knowledgeable. Why? لِمَا عَلَّمْنَاهُ, for what we had taught him. Lima has been understood as because. He was someone knowledgeable because we had taught him, we had given him knowledge. What kind of knowledge was he given? Through wahi, because he was also a prophet of Allah. So in other words, whatever that he was doing was based on knowledge. It wasn't just based on assumption. Meaning when he told them what to do in order to fend off the evil eye, this was not based on his assumption. This was based on what? Knowledge. Like for example, even if today, when you're leaving the house, your mother says, make sure you recite Ayatul Kursi, don't think that she's being very suspicious. And don't think she's following old tales and old concepts. No. This is based on what? Revelation. This is based on divine knowledge. So he was someone knowledgeable, and he was doing this based on that knowledge which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given him. وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. But most of the people, they do not know. What do they not know? The relationship between tadbir and tawakkul. What is tadbir? Planning. And tawakkul, relying upon Allah. Many people do not know this, which is why when they make a plan, they want that it should happen as it is, and nothing should go wrong. Or when they think about relying upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they forget to plan. Most of the people are completely unaware of this. We'll listen to the recitation and then we'll continue. Yaqub alayhi salam was someone very knowledgeable. And he realized the fact that despite his planning, whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed would ultimately happen. He knew that his planning, his trying to fend off the evil eye, could not outdo the decision of Allah. And when a person believes in this, only then can he accept if things don't go according to plan. Otherwise, a person gets frustrated, he gets angry, he becomes furious, he begins to yell at other people, he does not trust them anymore. Yaqub alayhi salam, he trusted upon who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he realized that ultimately the decision is in whose hands? Allah's hands. And this was because he was ladu ilm, he was a possessor of knowledge. Others have said that ilm over here gives a sense of amal. He was someone who acted upon the knowledge that he had. And amal has been called ilm because when can you do amal? When you have ilm. And when a person does amal, it shows that he has ilm. So, he didn't just have that knowledge, he actually implemented that knowledge as well, that he made his plan, and he also relied upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Both these things are necessary. And if you look at the patience of Yusuf alayhi salam, he did not expose himself right away. He did not tell them who he was. Just as when the envoy of the king came, what did he say? Not now. I'm not coming out right now. Go back. He was very patient. Even at this point, he was very patient. Because if he had told them immediately, then what would happen? They would not realize their mistake. They would not realize. He waited. And in the long run, he wanted good for his brothers as well. If you look at the way of Yaqub alayhi salam, when he mentions to his sons that you made a mistake in the past, why does he mention that? Why does he remember their previous mistake? Shouldn't you be forgiving and forget about what people have done in the past and overlook it completely? Because you must learn from your past mistakes. And over here, what did he learn from that mistake? From the mistake of his sons. That now he made them make a firm promise in the name of Allah. Previously he didn't. Now he did. And this is something that we must do when we're planning something. We must look at what has happened in the past. If certain mistakes have been made, what do we learn from that so that we can avoid these mistakes in the future? We must have this review of what we have done in the past so that we can avoid those mistakes in the future. Yaqub alayhi salam, he gives his sons another chance. Although they had been liars, they had been deceptive in the past, but still he gives them another chance. And this is something that we also need to do. Sometimes if a person has made a mistake in the past, we never forget it. We never overcome it. That person is constantly, forever in our bad books. Forever his name is written over there. We never think anything good about him. But we must overcome that. And we must give another chance to people. And one more thing about the evil eye. Remember that evil eye can also be given by the jinn. Do you know that? Because we learned about Iblis that إِنَّهُ يَرَاكُمْ هُوَ وَقَبِيلُهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا تَرَوْنَهُمْ. That the jinn, they see you from where you do not see them. This is why don't just read your morning and evening adhkar when you think you're going to do something, when you think that something might happen, when you have to go before people. No. Even if you're just at home, doing nothing major, still you must read your morning and evening adhkar, because it can come from the jinn even, because they look at you, they see you. And it's possible that their vision can also affect you with the evil eye. And one more thing I remembered while the recitation was going on, that sometimes people have this concept of, they say it in Urdu, nazar battu, which is that if someone is looking very good or some place is looking very good, put something ugly over there, so that somehow that whole scene won't be that beautiful and the evil eye will be warded off. This concept is also wrong. Because what are you thinking? That object, that mark, that particular thing is a source of warding off the evil eye. This is shirk. This is shirk. This is not correct. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can protect you. Only He can prevent you.